Hi everyone, Vanman here. We're finally back. After a long hiatus, we're embarking on an adventure to see how fast we can beat Pokemon Red and Blue with just a Hitmonchan. In the previous video, we rode Slowpoke's advantageous typing and absurdly diverse move pool into the A tier. Does Hitmonchan have what it takes to match it? Let's find out. Being a single-stage Pokemon in Gen 1, Hitmonchan's base stats are substantially stronger than the other pre-evolved Pokemon as a part of a multi-stage line that have been featured on this channel so far. In particular, it's no surprise that it has an excellent attack stat of 105, and it does ostensibly get reasonable type coverage in its move pool because of its signature elemental punches, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, and Thunder Punch. But to be honest, that's about where the list of Hitmonchan's strengths as a solo-run Pokemon come to an end. First of all, Hitmonchan has an absolutely abysmal special stat of only 35, and considering the elemental punches are special attacks, it turns out they're not nearly as useful as you might initially think. Also, since you're not actually meant to acquire Hitmonchan in the game until level 30, it doesn't learn any moves by level up until level 33, so we'll be stuck with Comet Punch, Agility, and TMs up until then. On screen is a summary of the rule set for this run, and the complete rule set is also in the description below if you need to reference them later. Also, if you like what I do and want to help me continue to provide you with quality Pokemon content, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're always up to date on the newest videos. We begin the run by altering the game to replace the Bulbasaur starter with Hitmonchan. Upon acquiring Hitmonchan, I named it Jackie as an homage to Jackie Chan, from whom Hitmonchan derives its name. Now, the reason I chose to replace Bulbasaur is because I figured Charmander would be the easiest to face against on the rival's team due to its lower defense stat. And I also wanted to ensure that the rival would eventually end up with Gyarados on his team to exploit its 4x weakness to Thunder Punch. After making quick work of the rival, we make our way past Route 1 in Viridian Forest to Pewter City, but unfortunately by the time we make it to Brock, we're nowhere near ready to face him. This is because, as well as you might naively expect a single-stage fighting-type Pokemon to be able to contend with his rock types, Hitmonchan unfortunately begins the game with 0 fighting-type moves to exploit their type disadvantage. Instead, Comet Punch, despite having the literal word punch in its name, is only a normal-type move with 18 base power that lasts for 2 to 5 turns. And to make matters worse, Comet Punch is only 85% accurate, which is disastrous against Brock's Geodude who likes to spam Defense Curl. We make it to Pewter City at a lowly level 7, so obviously we'll need to train quite a bit. Fortunately, in Brock's gym there is a junior trainer with a level 11 Diglett and Sandshrew, and given Hitmonchan's high attack and Diglett's low defense, we're able to employ the strategy of knocking out the Diglett and then losing to the Sandshrew to black out, then come back and try again with more experience. Using this method, we're able to get past the Diglett 3 times before the 4th attempt, at which point we get past the Sandshrew as well, bringing Jackie to level 11. Now at this point, I knew that we would not be able to defeat Brock, but I go ahead and face him anyway, just to serve as a barometer for how many extra levels we might need. In the preliminary battle, you can see just how poor Comet Punch's performance is against the Geodude, because after a couple defense curls, each strike is only dealing 1 damage each, and it requires a whopping 13 attacks to take it down. We do go into Onix at a respectable orange health, but it was at this point that I realized our health is not the problem. Against Brock, we're also racing against our power points, which in this particular battle spells defeat because our remaining 2 Comet Punches are obviously not enough to get the job done. So moving forward, we need to head to Viridian Forest and train up enough to knock out the Geodude in 5 to 7 hits, and the Onix in 8 to 10 hits. Or do we? See, after that battle, I devised a strategy that will grant us access to more attacks than just the initial 15. Struggle. Here's how it works. Before the battle, we find a Metapod or Kakuna in Viridian Forest that can't attack us, then spend up all but just a few agility power points, and then face Brock. That way, against the Onix, we'll hopefully be able to use agility while it bides a couple times, then once we're out of agilities, we can struggle our way to victory. Using this strategy, we come back at level 14, and already you can see that Comet Punch is dealing quite a bit more damage to Geodude, but unfortunately still not nearly as much as we would like, so it still ends up taking a full 10 attacks to take the Geodude down. Then against Onix, we do manage to use Struggle, but then it unfortunately uses Bide while we're struggling to get the KO. We then come back at level 17, and this time it only took 8 attacks to knock out the Geodude, and since Geodude used more defense curls than usual, we managed to go into Onix at high green health. And at first it seemed that everything was going according to plan. We were Comet Punching while Onix wasn't dealing that much damage, and we used all of our agilities while Onix bided a couple times. However, struggling during a 3rd bide meant that it knocked us out after we got it into red. so now at this point, I have to consider whether it's faster to train to a higher level or to try our luck again. And after some deliberation, considering just how much experience we need to make it to level 18 and beyond, and also considering how close we were to victory on that last attempt, I determined that having another go at level 17 was the best option. Well, this time things go much smoother because Geodude only requires 7 attacks, and again we're able to go into Onix in the green. The only difference is, this time Onix uses just the right number of bites without us needing to fear the retaliation attack, in fact initiating its 3rd bite while it's in the red, allowing a couple more struggles to knock it out and win us the Boulder Badge. Next, as we make our way across Route 3 in Mount Moon, we make a pit stop to this basement floor to pick up the TM for Mega Punch, which, while unfortunately not any more accurate than Comet Punch, at least has a higher base power most of the time, and also grants us access to enough power points to make it all the way through Mount Moon without needing to backtrack to heal at a Poké Center. We then make it to Cerulean City at a respectable level 21, and then face Rival 2. As I've said many times on this channel, Pidgeotto is the biggest threat because it's bulky and can ruin your plans with Sand Attack. And indeed, this time it does get off a single Sand Attack before being 2-shot with Mega Punch. Against Abra, since it can't attack, I decided to use 6 agilities to badge boost our attack stat in preparation for the next Pokemon in the lineup. You might call 6 badge boosts overkill, but there's not really much downside to using it in this case. Abra then goes down to a Comet Punch, and even though a couple Mega Punches miss against Rattata, our defense is good enough that we're not really in danger of being knocked out from it, and Rattata and Charmander are both 1-shot after the Mega Punches finally connect. Next, we sweep our way through Nugget Bridge and Route 25, bringing us to level 24 to face Misty. And I already know that this is going to be a very luck-based battle, because our strategy is to set up 3 agilities to badge boost our attack, which will hopefully one-shot both the Staryu and the Starmie. However, Hitmonchan has such poor special that Water Gun and or Bubble Beam will be devastating, especially if Mega Punch misses. But on the other hand, Misty could also just use Tackle or X-Defend. In the battle, Staryu ends up using 2 Water Guns and 1 X-Defend during the agility setup, bringing us to about 2/3 health before we one-shot Staryu with Mega Punch. Then against Starmie, the first Mega Punch criticals, which ignores the badge boost and therefore doesn't knock it out, after which Starmie retaliates with Water Gun, bringing us to Orange. Then fortunately Mega Punch connects and gets the KO, winning us the Cascade Badge. Next, as we board the SSN, we do the usual SSN thing by picking up the rare candy and the TM for Body Slam, which is actually 100% accurate and will therefore serve as our principal attacking move for the remainder of the run. Additionally, we also take a small detour and pick up the TM for Rest as well, just in case we need it later. Now at this point, Jackie is so overleveled that the next portion of the run is quite trivial, with every Pokemon on Rival 3's team, for example, being outsped in 1-shot with Body Slam. Then against Lieutenant Surge, since Voltorb poses no real threat, we set up our agilities to badge boost attack, during which time Voltorb gets off a weak tackle and a Sonic Boom. Voltorb and Pikachu are then outsped in 1-shot, which causes us to level up, therefore negating the badge boost. However, Raichu nevertheless just goes for Growl before being outsped in 2-shot, winning us the Thunder Badge. Next, we sweep our way through Route 9 and Rock Tunnel, then bypass Lavender Town, and head straight to Celadon City to complete our shopping errands. While in the Celadon City Mart, we pick up an extra Pokédoll, in case I decide to use the Mimic strategy later in the run, and we also pick up the TM for Submission. I don't honestly anticipate needing to use either of them, but better safe than sorry. Then we pick up the HM for Fly and fly back to Lavender Town to face Rival 4, who is not quite as trivial as last time, because Gyarados has quite good defense and therefore won't be one-shot with Body Slam, and can easily take us out with Hydro Pump. However, we do manage to get quite lucky in this particular battle, because Pidgeotto was 2-shot with Body Slam without using Sand Attack, Execute is 2-shot without using Stun Spore, and Gyarados just manages a weak bite before also being 2-shot. Then Kadabra's low defense makes it a 1-shot, and Charmeleon is almost 1-shot before it just leers and goes down on the following turn as well. Then, my muscle memory takes me to the next floor of the tower, after which I realized, wait a minute, Jackie doesn't actually know any moves that can hurt ghost types, meaning that we therefore can't yet complete the Pokemon Tower mission. So, we instead dig out of the tower, then fly back to Cerulean City where we pick up the TM for Seismic Toss, and then come back and defeat the Channelers and the Rockets, which gives us access to the Pokeflute. Now, before I continue, I need to make a quick point of clarification about Seismic Toss, which is that normally, Ghost-type Pokemon are immune to Fighting-type attacks, but since Seismic Toss is a set damage move, always dealing damage equal to the user's level, it bypasses the type effectiveness check, including immunity, allowing us to make it past the Ghastlies no problem. Then, after Pokemon Tower, because during that mission Jackie leveled up and learned Fire Punch, we head back to Celadon to face Erica. And I hope this fight will illustrate what I mentioned earlier about Hitmonchan's poor special. Despite being 75 power and super effective, look how little Fire Punch is doing to Victory Bell in comparison to the non-super effective Body Slam that followed. Granted, I should have known better, because Body Slam would have made Victory Bell a 2-shot instead of a 3-shot, but nevertheless, Victory Bell just gets off a weak wrap into Poison Powder before going down. Then we use Tangela to set up 3 agilities to prepare for Vileplume, and even though Tangela would ordinarily pose no threat, its bind attack in conjunction with our poison condition is actually quite dangerous because we take poison damage each turn that bind is active. Because of this, we go into Vileplume at low orange health. We open with Body Slam, taking Vileplume into red, and even though Vileplume could then knock us out with Petal Dance, it just goes for Mega Drain, bringing us down to only 3 HP. Then we take it out on the following turn, winning us the Rainbow Badge. Up next, we head to Fuchsia City, where we use the trainers in Koga's gym to level up to 38, then face Koga himself. Now, the strategy here is to set up 3 badge boosts from Agility to contend with Muck and Weezing's excellent defense stat, but the problem is that strategy still leaves plenty of time for the initial coughing to get off either poison, or an accuracy drop, or substantial damage, or some combination of all 3. And it's actually very unlikely that not one of those 3 circumstances end up happening. In the first battle, for example, coughing actually manages 2 of the 3, in the form of a couple sludges and a smog that gets us to about half health and also poisons, after which 2 sludges from Muck is plenty to get the KO. In the second attempt, pretty much the exact same sequence happens with coughing, after which Muck successfully disables Body Slam, and even though Ice Punch does get a clutch freeze, the fact that we don't have access to Body Slam means that we can't take out our enemies fast enough, thus allowing the poison damage to knock us out. The third attempt then goes a little better from an HP perspective, but a total of 2 smoke screens from the coughings means we can't take out the Weezing fast enough and get taken out from Self Destruct. Then in the fourth attempt, we do find that Body Slam is actually a 2-shot range on Muck, but still, Koga's team decides to go for the all-out offensive strategy this time, with Koga never once using X attack, or commanding a non-damage dealing move the whole battle, which is too much for us to overcome. Then finally, in the 5th attempt, we managed to get just the right mix of poor decisions from Koga's team, because the first coughing, although it does land a single smokescreen, uses not 1 but 2 X attacks and misses a smog, allowing us to go into Muck at full health. Because of Smokescreen, we miss our first Body Slam, after which Muck disables Ice Punch. Then, after we land the next Body Slam, Muck goes for Minimize, causing us to miss the next Body Slam, after which Muck uses Sludge, which poisons. Then, fortunately, the next Body Slam connects, and we also get the range and move on to the second Coughing in green health. Then Coughing misses a Smog, and both of our Body Slams luckily connect, in spite of the Smokescreen. And then finally, even though Weezing does manage 2 sludges to bring us into red, the rest of our Body Slams connect as well, meaning that we take out Weezing in 3 turns and win the Soul Badge. As a side note, it was at this point that my existential dread regarding Agatha started to set in, because if Koga demanded a full 5 attempts to defeat him with his antics, I can only imagine just how painful Agatha will be for the same reason, but only magnified. Regardless, since the rest of the game is walled off from us until we defeat Rival 5, that's where we head next, and unlike the previous rival battles up to this point, victory here will require some engineering. For starters, Body Slam may not be enough at our level to outspeed and one-shot the Alakazam, which will obviously spell defeat if it retaliates with pretty much anything, which means that we have to set up Badge Boost against the Pidgeot. However, Pidgeot knows Wing Attack, which will deal massive damage during the setup, so we may have to experiment with finding just the right permutation of moves to use. In the battle, we start by setting up 2 agilities against Pidgeot, and then using 2 Body Slams, during which 3 Wing Attacks from Pidgeot bring us to about a third health. Then Ice Punch comes just shy of knocking out the Execute, but fortunately it just goes for Reflect, and another Ice Punch takes it down. But then we level up going into Gyarados, negating the Badge Boost, thus making Body Slam a 3-shot and allowing Gyarados to bring us into red with a couple bites. Then we do actually manage to outspeed the Alakazam, but as I predicted, Body Slam comes just shy of knocking it out, making its retaliatory Psybeam trivial. Then, before making a second attempt, I decide to fight 1 extra Rocket Trainer in Silphco to level up to level 40 to prevent the Badge Boost negation against the rival. I do realize I could have used a Rare Candy in this instance, but I'm trying my best to prioritize using Rare Candies as late as possible to maximize experience. So because of that, the next battle goes much smoother because even though Pidgeot manages a critical hit Wing Attack that brings us into red leading into Execute, Execute still just goes for Reflect before Ice Punch 2 shots, then Gyarados is 2-shot with it using a Bite that brings us to just 5 health, then Alakazam is outsped in 1-shot with Body Slam, then unfortunately we do level up again leading into Charizard. Luckily though, Charizard just goes for Rage that leaves us at a mere 2 health, after which our retaliatory Body Slam deals about a third. And now, since Charizard is locked into Rage, the only way we can win is if Body Slam crits, but that is indeed exactly what happens, and we just barely clutch out the win. So now that the Silphco mission is completed and we've acquired Lapras to use Surf, our options are either Blaine or Sabrina. And I think it should be pretty obvious that we'll need to be at as high a level as possible to defeat Sabrina. So instead we head to Blaine, who, in spite of Hitmonchan's poor special stat, is actually a much easier victory than you might think. The reason is because Blaine's good AI will cause the initial Growlithe to set up agility because it's a psychic type move against our fighting typing, in turn allowing us to set up our own agility to badge boost with impunity. So we make use of the Cinnabar gym trainers to level up to 45, then face Blaine. First, we set up 3 agilities against Growlithe, after which Growlithe and Ponyta are outsped in one-shot with Body Slam. Then Body Slam brings Rapidash into red, triggering a Super Potion, after which the next Body Slam takes it out. Then finally, Body Slam 2-shots the Arcanine as well, winning us the Volcano badge in relatively painless fashion. And now against Sabrina, I think we're probably finally leveled up enough to contend with her team, so let's head to Saffron City and see if I'm correct in my prediction. To prepare, we face against a couple of her trainers to grind up to level 47, putting Jackie a full 4 to 9 levels above her Pokemon. To start, Kadabra is outsped in one-shot with Body Slam, allowing us the chance to set up our badge boost against Mr. Mime, who likes to spam Barrier and Light Screen. Fortunately, Mr. Mime never attacks during the setup, but Body Slam is still nevertheless only a 3-shot because of Barrier, during which Mr. Mime gets off a devastating critical hit Confusion, bringing us to Orange. I'm not worried, however, because our stats are now high enough that Venomoth and Alakazam are both outsped in one-shot as well, winning us the Marsh badge. Then finally, to round out all 8 gyms in the league, we use the Viridian gym trainers to level up to level 50 and then face Giovanni. And as you might suspect, this battle went very smoothly. First, Rhyhorn only knows very weak attacks, giving us the green light to set up our badge boost, allowing us to one-shot Rhyhorn with Ice Punch and one-shot Dugtrio with Body Slam. Then the 2 Nidos are both 2-shots with Body Slam, and finally Rhydon is 2-shot with Ice Punch, winning us the Earth badge. But now, against Rival 6, I'm honestly not sure how challenging this one will be, because his team's moveset is almost exactly the same as it was in the last one, except now they're at a much higher level, which will obviously make matters more difficult, but this time the opening Pidgeot knows agility in addition to wing attack. And because of the good AI, it's a coin flip to use either one, meaning that we will have a much better chance of surviving during the badge boost setup. Well, in the initial attempt, Pidgeot does unfortunately go for the worst of the 8 possible permutations in the form of 3 consecutive wing attacks, bringing us to half health. Then Body Slam 2-shots Pidgeot, after which Ice Punch 1-shots Rhyhorn and Body Slam 2-shots Execute with it just using a failed Stun Spore. Good, we definitely dodged a bullet on that one. However, Gyarados then sets out to demonstrate how poor Hitmonchan's special is yet again, because a 4 times effective Thunder Punch with 3 badge boosts is still not enough to take it out, after which a retaliatory bite brings us to red. Then the next Thunder Punch knocks it out, but we then level up leading into Alakazam, and I'm sure you can see where this is going. Body Slam doesn't quite get the job done, and the retaliatory Psychic is more than enough to get the KO. So because of that fact, I feed several rare candies to Jackie to bring it up to level 55, and as you might suspect, again the next battle is much smoother. This time, Pidgeot goes for the best of the 8 possible permutations for its attacks in the form of 3 agilities, meaning we get to knock it out at full health. Then Rhyhorn is 1-shot, and then Execute, though still not quite 1-shot, is nevertheless frozen, preventing it from retaliating. Then the Gyarados is still also just shy of being 1-shot with Thunder Punch, but its retaliatory bite doesn't do much, after which Body Slam is plenty to 1-shot the Alakazam, and 2-shot the Charizard as well. So now, we're off to face the Elite Four. But before we fight Lorelei, I want to talk about our moveset. Currently in my items pouch is the TM for Submission that we picked up from the Celadon department store. Now, obviously Submission would make Lorelei's ice types trivial, given their weakness to fighting and Hitmonchan's strong attack stat. However, I don't think that strategy will be viable because we need Body Slam to take out many other Pokemon, especially Alakazam, we need Thunder Punch to contend with Gyarados, and we need both Elemental Punches in the form of Thunder Punch and Ice Punch to have enough power points to defeat Agatha. And lastly, the badge boost is too important to get rid of agility. So at this point, I'm afraid we're simply out of room for Submission, and will instead have to rely on Thunder Punch and Body Slam for Lorelei. To prepare, I do go ahead and feed a few more rare candies to Jackie, being sure to leave a few in reserve to prevent the mid-battle level up against Agatha, Lance, and the champion. We go into Lorelei at level 59, and at the very least, we can say that defeating her Dewgong as well as getting our badge boost set up is totally free, because Lorelei's AI will cause Dewgong to spam Rest against our fighting typing. So after we set up our agilities, Thunder Punch is just shy of a 2-shot, and even though Dewgong heals back to full with Rest and Lorelei uses 1 Super Potion, the victory is never in question and we still take it out. Then Thunder Punch 2-shots Cloyster with an intervening Aurora Beam, and then yet again Slowbro is also a free win because it will always spam Amnesia for the same reason. Next, Jinx and Jackie exchange body slams, bringing us down to about half, and then against Lapras, I wasn't sure if body slam or thunder punch would deal more damage, so I lead with body slam, dealing about a quarter, followed by a thunder punch which deals slightly more, during which time Lapras uses 2 body slams of its own, which brings us to about a quarter and also paralyzes. And even though our next thunder punch leaves it on a sliver, Lorelei then goes for super potion, and we're able to power through the paralysis and knock it out on the next turn. Next, I noticed that Lapras didn't cause us to level up leading into Bruno, so I checked Jackie's experience and determined that Bruno's first Onix will level us up. I consider using a rare candy to prevent that, but I decide against it because I don't think Bruno's team is quite threatening enough to necessitate a badge boost setup anyway. After all, if we lose from not having badge boosted, we can always reset and try again using a rare candy. Regardless, Bruno's first Onix is one shot with Ice Punch, and then Body Slam 2-shots the opposing Hitmonchan with it just using a weak Thunder Punch, then Hitmonlee experiences the same fate with it using a weak Mega Kick, then the next Onix is the same as the previous, and then Machamp is 3-shot with Machamp never actually attacking. But now, as trivial as Bruno was, up next is the moment you've all been waiting for, and the moment that I've been dreading, Agatha. And the strategy is simple. Feed 1 rare candy to prevent the level up, then set up 3 agilities against the first Gengar to badge boost special, then Thunder Punch and Ice Punch the rest of the way. Granted, because of Hypnosis and Confuse Ray, that strategy is extremely unlikely to win on any single attempt, but given that Agatha's AI attacks randomly, it is nevertheless possible for her to spin her wheels and do nothing the entire battle until we win. Obviously this is very inconsistent, but sometimes in solo challenges, you reach a point such as this one where the fastest strategy really is just to play the slot machine over and over again until you get lucky. Now, in the very first battle, I will tell you that using this strategy, we actually made it all the way to the last Pokemon in the lineup, but I will also tell you that that required amazing luck, with not 1 but 2 Ice Punch freezes, and that in most attempts we didn't even make it past the Golbat. And not to mention, there are even more roadblocks to getting past Agatha than I even anticipated. Not only is the first Gengar so bulky that it takes a full 8, count 'em 8, turns to knock it out between Agility and Ice Punch, thus giving it ample time to retaliate, Golbat can use Haze to completely cancel out the badge boost that we worked so hard to achieve. Additionally, Agatha is very fond of using super potions, which normally wouldn't be a problem in situations where we're dealing more damage than the potion restored, but in this case, because Thunder Punch and Ice Punch are so weak, it actually augments the number of turns that the enemy Pokemon have to retaliate. So, after 6 attempts, all but the first of which we didn't even make it past the Haunter, I decided to change strategies. What if, I thought, we used Mimic to copy the first Gengar's Hypnosis? Granted, the Mimic Hypnosis strategy is also just another slot machine simulator, but it's entirely possible that it is at least more likely to win each individual attempt, therefore saving time statistically. However, I did come to realize that we never actually picked up the TM for Mimic, so it looks like that we'll have to intentionally black out and then come back. And by the way, even though I don't talk about this very often, it is worth noting here that in my comprehensive rules for these challenges, I do make it clear that I'm allowed to save between Elite Four members, and I'm also allowed to black out and then come back, but only if I determine that I can't win otherwise. In other words, I just can't abuse the system by intentionally blacking out and then coming back simply as a training method. So, that's exactly what I do, and when we make it back to Agatha with the Mimic TM in hand, we're now at level 62. Unfortunately though, Jackie is a mere 18 experience points away from level 63, so it looks like we'll have to waste a rare candy to bring us to level 63 and prevent the mid-battle level up, but it just feels really awkward to use a rare candy for that little experience. And in addition to the rare candy, we also replace Ice Punch with Mimic. For this particular battle, against Agatha, it would actually be more advantageous to keep Ice Punch and replace Thunder Punch instead, since Ice Punch has the same power but also has a chance to freeze. But looking forward, we also need Thunder Punch to deal with Gyarados. So, with Mimic and Thunder Punch at the ready, we try our hand again. First, after mimicking Hypnosis, Agatha withdraws Gengar for Golbat, thus giving us another free turn. Hypnosis then successfully lands on Golbat, and it stays asleep the entire time while we set up Agility, and then it goes down to a critical hit Body Slam while still asleep. Well, that went about as well as it possibly could have. But we're not out of the woods yet. Next, when Gengar comes back out, I misclick on Agility, but fortunately Gengar just uses Dream Eater, which does nothing. Then the next Hypnosis misses and it uses Nightshade. Then the next Hypnosis lands and it stays asleep until we knock it out with 5 Thunder Punches. Then Haunter and Jackie exchange failed Hypnosises before the next one lands, and Haunter goes down in 3 hits. Then with Arbok, I didn't bother using Hypnosis because I knew it would be a 2-shot with Body Slam anyway, and fortunately, Agatha just went for a Super Potion on Arbok instead of actually calling an attack. Then finally, the second Gengar just uses a failed Dream Eater before falling asleep, and even though we have to fight through Agatha using 2 Super Potions, and Gengar waking up, and us having to put it back asleep again, a full 8 Thunder Punches is enough to knock it out and finally get past Agatha, frankly much sooner than I anticipated. As a side note, while grinding in Viridian Forest earlier in this run, I turned on Scott's Thoughts Hitmonchan video to play in the background just to pass the time, during which I learned that he battled Agatha over 200 times to get his victory in that playthrough. So needless to say, I'm very glad I was not relegated to that same fate. Also, while I'm at it, I just want to take the time to appreciate just how much Scott has improved both as a runner and as a content creator. I'm really proud of you, bud. You've come a long way, and you deserve every bit of recognition that you've achieved so far. So back to the run. Moving on to Lance, I'm pretty confident going in, because 2 Thunder Punches should be enough to deal with the Gyarados, and then we'll level up during the Dragonairs, who will just spam Agility, allowing us to badge boost prior to the Aerodactyl. Also, since I can't think of anything we would need to Mimic either in this fight or the next one, we replace Mimic with Rest, allowing us to heal back up to full after Gyarados' retaliation attack. To start, Gyarados is indeed 2-shot with Thunder Punch, but it turns out we don't even need Rest because Gyarados didn't attack before going down. Then we badge boost against the first Dragonair, who was 1-shot with Body Slam, as is the second. Then Thunder Punch deals about 2/3 to Aerodactyl, who fortunately just fails with Supersonic before going down. Then finally, we just get to whittle away at Dragonite while it sits there and does nothing until we defeat Lance and move on to the champion. To prepare for the champion, I feed my final rare candy to Jackie to level up to 65, and now there's nothing more that can be done apart from cross our fingers and hope for the best. To start, we set up 2 badge boosts against Pidgeot, who uses Mirror Move to Agility itself, and then sets up for Sky Attack. Then, even though Body Slam deals over half, Sky Attack spites the badge boost with a critical hit and knocks us out. In the next attempt, Pidgeot goes for Wing Attack and then yet another Sky Attack, but since it didn't crit this time, the badge boost allows us to survive the attack, and we can move on to Alakazam in the yellow. Alakazam is then fortunately outsped in 1-shot, and now, since Rhydon only knows very weak attacks, we're in the clear to heal up to full with Rest. It is a little bit awkward that at this point Body Slam is the only move that can damage Rhydon, but since Rhydon didn't attack the entire time, and just used a full 4 Tail Whips and Leers to badge boost us another 4 times over, it actually makes Body Slam only a 5-shot. Then, Exeggutor is 2-shot with it just using a failed Hypnosis, and Gyarados, with 4 times weakness and a total of 7 badge boosts, is obviously 1-shot with Thunder Punch. Then, we level up to take away the badge boost leading into Charizard, so the initial Body Slam deals just under half and also paralyzes. Then Charizard crits with Fire Spin, which lasts the full 5 turns, and then after the next Body Slam brings it to red, another critical hit Fire Spin knocks us out. Attempt number 4, Pidgeot crits with Sky Attack. Attempt number 5, Exeggutor puts us to sleep and we never wake up. But finally, in attempt number 6 at the champion, we get past Pidgeot in the orange, take out the Alakazam no problem, rest against Rhydon and then whittle it down, then 2-shot the Exeggutor after a failed Hypnosis, then 1-shot the Gyarados, and then Deja Vu, Body Slam brings Charizard to just over half, after which it Fire Spins to bring us to about 2/3, but then the final Body Slam crits, finally knocking out the Charizard and making us champion of the Pokemon League. Results. Hitmonchan finished the game in 5 hours and 46 minutes game time, 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 8 seconds real time. Conclusion. As a solo run Pokemon, Hitmonchan is very much a blunt force instrument. There was never any real variation in the strategy, in the sense that we pretty much just relied on badge boosting and attacking for reasonable damage the entire time. It was also fairly awkward that Hitmonchan never had access to viable fighting type moves, meaning that while it could rely on its reasonably high speed and attack stats to get the job done most of the time, Body Slam was merely a 2-shot rather than a 1-shot for many of the enemy Pokemon, thus opening the window for retaliation attacks. And it also meant that Brock alone was responsible for a full tier's worth of lost time from the onset. Given Hitmonchan's high speed and attack stats but poor special, lack of access to fighting moves, and overall unidimensional approach to victory in most situations, Hitmonchan has earned its place smack dab in the middle of the C tier for solo run Pokemon in Gen 1, just behind Ponyta. So, what did you think of Hitmonchan's performance? Let me know in the comments. As always, I welcome any and all feedback, so feel free to tell me your thoughts. And also please like and subscribe to join our community. See you next time everyone, take care.